This is nuts. Who did this? What is this place even for? Welcome, everybody to the Assuminati podcast.
Woo-hoo.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go, indeed. This time we have a peach of an episode for you.
Oh, you and the dad puns.
Oh, we love it. Brought to you by Matt, the king of the dad puns.
Son of a peach.
Speaking of peaches, this time we are headed to the great state of Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go dogs.
Love Georgia.
Southeast, go dogs. Go dogs.
Go dogs.
Now, last episode, we tackled the Denver International Airport. If you haven't had a chance to go and look at that or listen to it and look into
It's
the
creepy.
conspiracy, it's super creepy, but it was super interesting. It was fun to dive into. We figured we'd dive into another conspiracy, I guess you could say. We went over what a conspiracy is, what we're looking for when we tackle conspiracies, and we're going to do it again. This time, like I mentioned, in the great state of Georgia, we're going to tackle what are known as the Georgia Guidestones, also known as American Stonehenge. Really
Very
interesting
interesting.
stuff. Really interesting stuff. Northeast Georgia. If you take the highway from Atlanta headed towards Charlotte, North Carolina, right in the middle, you could turn off the highway and visit this monument, if you want to call it that.
Is it
It's
on
a-
Travelocity's most recommended places to visit? If
What
you're
number?
in the area? I don't know. I haven't looked it up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, is it?
Oh, I'm sure it is. Maybe we should look it up. If only we had devices that could look that up. So this American Stonehenge, this Georgia Guidestone area, again, just northeast of Atlanta by about, it looks like about 90 miles from what Google Maps is telling me here, in or just outside the city of Elberton, Georgia, also known as, Matt,
The granite capital of the world.
the granite capital of the world. That's pretty.
Elberton.
That's a pretty fun
That's a hard
fact.
claim to beat.
So, being in the area,
I think it's self-proclaimed.
self-proclaimed, we have a lot of granite. Hey, that's what we do in America. We have a lot of something, we go for it, and we name it.
That's right.
We take it and we put it on a city sign, which makes it ours. So, this American Stonehenge was built out of the local granite. They had the material, so they built it. They were waiting to see if people would come. So these slabs, this again, we'll throw some pictures up on the screen. These slabs created kind of in the image of a Stonehenge type monument. The monument itself is 19 feet tall, a little over 19 feet, 19 feet 3 inches, made from 6 individual granite slabs, weighing in at a total of 237,000 pounds.
That's heavy.
Woo! That's a lot of granite. Now, on these stones, this is, again, if you were to visit this place, again, if you're going to take a recommendation from Travelocity like Uncle Bobby and visit this place off the highway on your way to Charlotte, what would we see, Robert? Can you tell us what in the heck is on these stones? Because they actually have something on them. They're not just random stones on a hill somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they had to one up the Stonehenge, so they had to engrave some stuff on this. But it's out in the kind of the middle of nowhere. It's in a cow pasture. And they engraved some things on there, some guidelines or principles, if you will, on these guide stones. And it's in 8 different languages. Now, because I am a master of all languages, I'm going to read to you all 10 in just English.
Oh, okay.
Impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. So of these 10 principles, so starts out 1, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And that sounds ideal considering the population of the world right now is like 7.5 billion and counting. But I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of people that got to go to hit that goal. So kind of weird, right?
Right.
2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Gotta say, I agree with that one. Some
Okay.
people shouldn't reproduce. 3, unite humanity with a living new language. As if the 8 languages they wrote this out in were not enough. Number 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Number 5, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Number 6, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. I would want to have Judge Judy rule over that world court. I think that'd be amazing.
Okay, I'll give her a call.
Yeah. 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. Amen.
So all
We should get some
I'm with
useless
that.
officials out. 8, balance personal rights with social duties.
Also a
Number
good
9,
idea.
Yeah. Number 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. 10, be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
It's interesting how they repeat themselves. Well, yeah, it must be important to them.
Very important. I mean, and they put it in 8 languages. And, you know, thinking about the people of Alberta, Georgia, you know, I'm sure many of them speak, you know, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, Russian, you know, or, you know, English or Spanish, because, you know, they've got it in all 8 languages. And back in the 1980s, I'm sure, you know, that county was extremely diverse in its languages.
You know how they got those languages translated into those, right?
Well, it probably wasn't through Google Translate. I'm just going to say
It was through the United Nations. The guy that built them had a contact at the UN,
nice.
sent them over there and got them to translate into the languages that they wanted.
So I failed to mention at the beginning, 1980 is when these were built. So that Uncle Bobby's comment about not having Google, that kind of makes sense there.
Can you imagine?
Pre-mass internet access.
I remember those days, pre-Google,
yeah.
pre-internet.
It was rough times.
Those were times was tough.
Times was tough.
Yeah.
So 1980, think about what was happening in the world at the time. We're talking Cold War. We're talking people on edge.
All right. So as you walk up to this, you know, this modern day Stonehenge, they felt the need to give you some explanation. So there's another granite tablet as you're walking up there that gives some information about it. And on there, you know, engraved is, you know, they say this is the Georgia Guidestones. It was erected in March 22nd, 1980. And just below that outline, there's a square inside which is written, let these be guidestones to an age of reason. And then also in here, like they point out different astronomical features. There's a channel through the stone that indicates a celestial pole. You can see that in the pictures. A horizontal slot indicates the annual travel of sun. Sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. And I wonder how accurate they actually got that. That requires some precision and like setting that up right. The author, R.C. Christian, and then in parentheses says a pseudonym, and they spelled it wrong. I think that's
that's interesting too. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to etch something in stone, you'd think you'd check the spelling before you started chiseling away, but you know,
they didn't have spell checker in 1980.
Well, I don't think they have spell checker in granite slabs today either.
Yes, they do.
Granite slabs.
Yeah, in the granite slabs.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we invented that.
It's in the computer that does the 3D printing of the granite.
True. I like to think they hand chisel all this stuff.
The etching. Yeah.
The laser etching.
So there were other languages on this guide or on this explanation tablet, right, Robert?
There were.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other languages that are on this tablet are Babylonian, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Ancient Egyptian.
Wow.
So, now why they picked those languages to be on the explanatory tablet, but they're not on the actual guide stones, that's kind of curious. These guidestones were sponsored by a small group of Americans who seek the age of reason. And then it references a time capsule, which this is interesting. So the time capsule supposedly is placed 6 feet below this spot. There's no date. And to be opened on, there's no date. Now, was that just a mistake where, they meant to fill that in before they handed it to the granite company to etch in? Or is this something intended to leave those dates blank? We don't know. I don't know that anybody's ever been bold enough to go start digging below this monument.
It's all a part of the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
What a mysterious monument this is. So it's in the middle of nowhere, kind of, just outside a town known for granite. So they make this granite monument in the middle of a field. Put 10 commandments, I guess you could say, or 10 guidelines for future humanity. Somehow the population has decreased below 500 million at this point, and we are to maintain that somehow, according to the first and second commandment. Maybe they were hoping for an event like that.
Who knows?
Woo!
Maybe the bigger event will get us down to 500 million.
Maybe. Think we need to put our caps on.
Yeah.
So hold on, Robert. Hold on. Now, who's the author? Who's the creator of this thing? This tablet, this monument? Did it say?
Yeah. So the author on the explanatory tablet says it's R.C. Christian, a pseudonym, which is spelled wrong. And, I'm just really wondering, they obviously put a lot of effort into this thing, like etching granite, especially
and money.
The magnitude of it is pretty big.
Yeah,
and,
lots of money.
Why would they do this? One, because it doesn't seem like, to make a lot of great sense. So I'm just wondering, who was this R.C. Christian? Why did he do it? Who are the people he represented? And, do you know?
I think Matt did some deep dive research on that. So what can you tell us, Matt, about what you found on R.C. Christian, or what who the person behind this all is?
Yeah, so there's a long story. Once upon a time.
Tell me more.
I don't know. Back in 1979, R.C. Christian, or the guy that was going by the name R.C. Christian, visited this town in Elberton, Georgia. And he went and contacted a local granite quarry. I think it was called Elberton. Or it was Granite City or something like that. Anyway, the guy that owned it suggested that, kind of thought he was crazy, and said, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to, you want to do what? You're going to build giant granite things out here in the middle of nowhere for what reason?" And the guy said to provide guidance to humanity in the event of a nuclear holocaust. And in case we'd be able to rebuild civilization, we would need some guidance. And this granite structure would remain after a nuclear holocaust.
Well, granite that was the whole probably make it through.
Yeah, that was the whole purpose, and that's why he picked granite as the material. That's why he was out in the middle of nowhere. The guy at the bank, the guy at the quarry said, "You're going to have to show me you've got the capital, or I'm not going to start this project for you." And so he recommended that he go talk to the bank president. He did. The bank president thought he was a little bit crazy, but he was able to set up an account on contingency that he would give him his actual name, because it's a bank. And we all know that you have to have your actual name if you're going to have an account at a bank. So this banker knows who R.C. Christian really is, like the real name of this guy. And they established some correspondence through the years. He kept a lot of that correspondence, and so we ended up, eventually, and we could talk about that further if you want, but figuring out who R.C. Christian really is. But I don't know if you want to go down that far, Brandon.
Well, we can maybe recommend some sources that people can check out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's. So a lot of this information is contained in a documentary called "Dark Clouds Over Elberton: The True Story of the Georgia Guidestones" by J. Michael Bennett. J. Michael Bennett. And it has a lot of good information. If you want to check that documentary out, it's on available on Amazon Prime. It's I think it was $2.99, something like that. But well worth it. If you want to check it out, you can get all the ins and outs, the names, and he kind of reveals who R.C. Christian is at the end of his episode, and it's pretty well done, pretty believable from my perspective.
Wow. So there is
I'm
an
gonna
actual
check that out.
there is an actual person behind this, and that documentary kind of goes into who that is, and
Yeah.
what the motivation. Does it go into motive?
It does.
Oh, cool. Now, why would he pick a name such as R.C. Christian?
Well, R.C. Christian. So basically, what he wanted to make sure that they knew is that he was a Christian person. So he wanted to pick the name R.C. Christian, which is loosely based on Christian Rosencrantz, who can be tied to the Rosicrucians. Brandon, I think you've got more information on the Rosicrucians.
Yeah, it was an interesting rabbit hole to go down, the Rosicrucian Society. And then the R.C. Christian, resembling a Rose Cross Christian, or that Rosicrucian order connection. That was an order way back in the 1600s. I'm seeing here in Europe, a cultural movement. A lot of the manifestos that came out of that were dubbed by many to be anti-Christian.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Well, they're secular, right? So
right.
The big difference is instead of God having all of the answers for us, humanity can provide all of the answers to the problems, and that's the big difference: secularism as opposed to Christianity.
Right. Yeah, and then the connection to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which happened to spawn different cults throughout the years, different societies. Aleister Crowley, there's a name, Mr. Crowley, for you Aussie fans. Maybe we'll do a couple related conspiracies to that order and Mr. Crowley. Those are fun topics to look into. Fun. I use the word fun. Interesting topics to dive into.
Jimmy Page bought his house. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, we can dive into all that later. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the influence behind some of these secret societies that are centuries old continued to come up.
You know, the Rosicrucians won't give you any information. These guys went and contacted the Rosicrucian Society, I guess in Atlanta, and they wouldn't they wouldn't say one thing.
They wouldn't play ball, huh?
Nope. With this monument, they have marked that they've buried a time capsule, but
They just didn't mark any dates.
there's no dates or anything. So some of the guys in the documentary that this J. Michael Bennett did claim that there is something there, and that they are keys, and that they have to do with the Rosicrucians.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, some people believe that. Some people that are really close to it actually believe that.
Yeah, as far as the connection, I mean, like we mentioned before, the previous episode was about what is believed to be a New World Order or Illuminati elite headquarters in the Denver International Airport. Well, here we are once again tackling another conspiracy where the New World Order, Masonry, Illuminati connections rears its head once again. So what can we make of that?
There's a time capsule in this one. There's a time capsule in the Denver International Airport.
That's interesting.
I mean,
There's a time
allegedly
capsule
there's a time capsule in this one. There's no
There's
dates.
a time capsule in my elementary school too.
Well, Robert,
Was it placed there by the Masonic Lodge of
I don't know.
wherever Bear River? I don't know.
Could have been.
Is there a Masonic Lodge in Bear River?
Beaver Dam?
I don't know, but there isn't.
Oh, Beaver Dam. That's right.
There is in Tooele.
I always say Bear River.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. just the fact that this new world order, this extinction event once again as well. It's assuming an extinction event has happened. This Georgia Guidestone, this guidance for a new humanity. Whether or not they're a part of the planning behind that event, or they just assume an event like that would happen, both are cringeworthy for sure. And then the plan to maintain or hold humanity under a certain number. That's almost a Thanos snap for you Marvel fans out there. Controlling the population. And then guidance for a society, one world government, a centralized government. That seems to be a theme with all of these conspiracies as well. Man.
I think the other thing too, the other comparison that I drew from the Denver International Airport and these Guidestones is the fact that there is significance in astrology, right? So they've got astrological reasons for where the holes are, that they bored through this thick granite, so that on every equinox, the sun can shine through a certain way. And if you look at Masonic belief, there's a lot of building significance to how you're building something.
Yeah.
And I think that same stuff applied to the Denver International Airport. Everyone that was involved in building the monument, everyone that was involved in it, except for like maybe two people, the banking guy, the banker guy, what's his name, Wyatt Martin. He is not a Mason, but everyone else is. So the Coggins guy, Frank Coggins, Joe Fendley, Wayne Mullenix that sold the property. And then they're all Mason. They're all part of that Mason lodge, right there in the Elberton.
Man, so
So it's kind of interesting. So you got the Masons behind that. You got the Masons behind the dedicatory stone there at the Denver International Airport. You've got kind of some hidden messages throughout. You got this kind of secret behind everything. Nobody wants to really reveal who it is. Nobody knows what the new world airport commission is. There's no such thing, right? Well, nobody knows who really, nobody's supposed to know who built these Georgia Guidestones or what the true purpose was behind them. So there's kind of a lot of comparisons that you can draw. This guy, R.C. Christian, we know is a Mason, right? So he comes from a Masonic background. And he also published a book called Common Sense Renewed.
Okay, I missed that.
Okay, so why that's important is because it's loosely based on Common Sense by Thomas Paine, who also was a Mason and had a lot of kind of wild ideas for the time, right? And they were all about, we as humans can figure stuff out. We don't really need the help of God.
Okay.
Kind of a thing,
Which fits
and
kind of the theme. Okay.
Absolutely. Right. And so this guy, the same guy that put in these Guidestones, is the same guy that published this book, that basically explained all of his ideas that are contained in these 10 principles. By the way, the property is now deeded to the county, so the county owns it. It's 5 acres. So this guy had no financial reason to do this at all. As soon as he bought it, he deeded it right over to the county, so it wasn't even his land for an investment or anything.
With stipulations, the monument would remain, and
there was grazing rights so that it wouldn't be covered up.
And you've got a point here. He didn't make a dime off this thing. This was a complete loss, as far as if you look at it from a business standpoint. Yeah.
Well, so the other thing is with the money. What I read is that the granite company thought he was so crazy that they basically said, this is going to cost you a lot of money, which I couldn't find anything that said how much money that was, but they felt like that would be like an outlandish price. And this RC Christian's like, okay, That's fine.
should have given him a higher bid.
Yeah. Would you like me to make
Well,
that out in a
he
chat?
wanted to make it bigger too. He wanted to add to what's already there. So what we see today as the Georgia Guidestones, his vision of that was bigger. So he was going to have more stones that were kind of in a circle around the current stuff now. So he wanted to kind of make it bigger, but they came, but like you said, Robert, the granite company came back and said, here's our bid, which is way more than we initially told you. And then he was like, okay, screw you, I'm not going to do it.
Okay, so we've talked about what this place is, where this place is, and what it might be. We've talked a little bit about the person behind it all, or this group of concerned citizens. So after talking about this, researching this over the last week, Robert, I mean, what's the final verdict here, man? What is this place? Is it real? Is it just the act of a single man who had a bunch of money to spend? What do you think's going on here?
Well, I mean, I believe the fact he represented a bunch of concerned people. I just think they're a bunch of crazy kooks. Not all rich people are smart. So, interesting. I think it's kind of a cool thing that, you can stop and see and we can talk about it. But, overall, I don't really think it has much to do with anything other than a group of people's thoughts that they wanted to share with humanity.
Okay. So you've got a check mark in the crazy rich people column. Mm-hmm. But cool, right? It's still something cool to look at. So you find yourself in that camp. I think a lot of people would find themselves in that category. Matt, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Robert a little bit, but I'm going to stop short of calling these folks crazy. I think these people that pooled their money together to come up with this are legitimately concerned. It's a product of time and place too. If you consider that this is 1980, we're in the middle of a Cold War. We see Russia building up their nuclear arsenal. We're doing the same. At any moment, we could launch into a nuclear holocaust. People at the same time were building bunkers in their backyards. So I feel like as a product of that, there were people that were educated that felt like, if this really does happen, then we should probably leave something to the future generation on how to rebuild things. And maybe their ideas don't align quite with mine, but they did have some very specific ideas that align with a lot of historical, leaders. For example, Thomas Paine and Common Sense and his Age of Reason that he wrote. And that's what they mentioned several times on the Guidestones, is we want this to lead to an age of reason. So I think their ideas just aligned maybe a little bit more extreme than the standard viewpoint. But I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't see a huge conspiracy behind these stones, more just a product of the times. That's what I'm going with.
And I follow right. I think I'm a mix of both of you. I'm with you. Part of me thinks, this is a guy with too much money, wanted to put his stamp on potentially a society that would happen or survive an impending or unavoidable catastrophe. Again, I think you're right, Matt. People were building bunkers in their backyard. We were still doing drills under our desks as far as school children, getting ready for bomb blasts. You see footage of that from the 50s, 60s, 70s, Cold War. That was a stressful time. So yeah, we do have. I firmly believe, after looking into this, that these people believed what they put and believed what
Obviously.
they built. Yeah,
This wasn't just like somebody had a big weekend and came up with this.
This is a sincere attempt to help future humanity, and they wanted to put their own stamp, it seemed, or lend their ideas that they found.
However misguided they may be.
Sure, and you can formulate your own opinion on whether or not you think their commandments are the way to go. I found a quote from Yoko Ono, because she's the source of all truth and light. Speaking of anti, she described the messages as a stirring call to rational thinking. while many other Christian-based organizations have called this thing or this monument the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist. So there's many, many different opinions here. It's either you feel these guys had it going on, they understood what was happening and they nailed it, or you might find yourself in that camp of this is the New World Order trying to control the future. Maybe this is something satanic in nature. I mean, it seems like there's 3 or 4 different camps when it comes to this monument.
Yeah.
And there might not be as much conspiracy here as we initially thought the more we looked into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. If ever I'm in
Yeah.
Georgia again,
Okay, road trip.
I may stop there and then go find me some sweet peaches.
That's right. Go dogs.
So today we learned about the Georgia Guidestones, and it was definitely an intriguing conspiracy to look into. Now, whether or not it's a conspiracy or not, I'll leave that up to you as the listener. But some interesting things that we picked up on that this group was, probably had great intentions of giving us guidance for, how the world should rebuild post an apocalyptic type of event that maybe they envisioned, maybe not. But some guidance and principles that they felt was out there, whether you agree with it or not. So hopefully you were intrigued as well and found something you want to look into, but there's a lot of information out on this topic out on the internet. So search it and come up to your own conclusion, but like us, subscribe, comment, and visit us at our website, Assuminati.com. Become friends with us at Assuminati Pod on Facebook. And then you can always visit our YouTube channel where you're probably at right now. So thanks for listening. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Mm-hmm. Dan Brown, if you're listening, you should write a book about this. Professor Langdon, I think, could come to the bottom of this.
Mr. Crowley.
Which has connections to Aleister Crowley. Yeah, and then we could play some Ozzy.
So I'll go through the languages because I speak all 8 fluently. So I'm going to read them in each of the 8 languages.
Oh, good,
I
good.
mean, just naturally. It's like crap.
Said biscuits? What's the flavor?
Hibiscus.
And what's the name of that? La Croix?
Yeah. LaCroix.
LaCroix.
No, it's LaCroix.
La Crux?
Uh-huh. Naturally
Yeah.
essenced. Just like me.
I'll just drink my diet water.
Diet water?
Yeah,
It's got fewer calories.
And
So they
you do
may have
pretty
been modern day Karens and Chads.
perhaps.
Well, Robert, it's over.
Yeah.
What, Utah season?
No, I'm watching the Chiefs game. I'm not talking about the Utes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's old news.
Y'all come back now, you hear? We got some peaches down here in Georgia.
There's gold in them there hills.
Okay, Velveeta.